Hi friends, this is Surendran Jaishekhar, founder and CEO of Success Gyan. Friends call me Suren. Success Gyan is India's largest organizer of personal development seminars. I welcome you to one more edition of Success Talks with Suren, where I have a conversation with a world-class speaker, trainer, or a businessman. Today, it's my honor and privilege because I have my teacher who completely transformed my life. Just to give you a background, I was in my worst loop through two bad business failures, and somebody pushed me to a one-day seminar on March 5th, 2006. Brian had come to Chennai for a one-day seminar. That one day completely transformed my life. Today, what I am, I owe it to that one day. And from February, as people know, we started Success Gyan in November 2011 with one intention to bring Brian to do a one-day seminar in Chennai, which we did in Feb 2012. Since then, we have brought Brian 12 times to India. We also had the privilege, we did a book together called Success Recipe, which sold thousands of copies translated to Marathi and Tamil. He needs no introduction, but just to give you a little background, 65 plus best-selling books, 500 plus organization trained, 5,000 plus talks, and more than 1 million people have been trained by him. And today is a very good friend. Brian, welcome you to Success Talks with Suren. Your opening remarks.
Thank you, Suren. You are my very dear friend. You and I have done seminars all over India, and I am so happy to be with you today and to share some of these ideas with our friends who are watching.
I'm going to dive into the first question. People know you as an inspiration, best-selling author, speaker. I know what was your first job and a lot of jobs you did. And how did you become a best-selling author? Can you tell about your first job, the things which you did before you became a best-selling author?
Well, I did not finish school, and so the only work I could get was laboring work. And I labored washing dishes in a kitchen in a small hotel. And then I worked on a farm, and then I worked in factories, putting nuts on bolts and so on. And when I could no longer find a laboring job, I got a job in sales. And the only job I could get was straight commission selling, knocking on doors, mostly offices during the day, and then homes and apartments in the evening. And I would knock on doors and I would sell my little product. It cost $20 at that time, not very much. And I was a very bad salesman. And I went from door to door. And I had this idea that if I worked longer hours, then I would be successful. So I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I would start work at 8 o'clock. And I would work until 9 o'clock at night, just knocking on doors. And finally, and this was the turning point in my life, and I have told you, is I began asking the question, why is it that some people are more successful than others? And that became my force, my driving force for my life. I began to read, I began to ask successful people for their advice and guidance. And then I became more successful. My income went up 10 times in 1 year by learning and practicing. What I found, and this was one of the great laws, the great law of philosophy came from Aristotle, and Aristotle called it the law of, the Aristotelian principle of causality that says that for everything that happens, there's a reason. And that if you want to achieve a particular goal, if you want to earn more money, then what you do is you find out other people who are earning more money, and you find out what are they doing. And you ask them, what did you do? Because everybody started at the bottom to get to the top. Everybody who is in the top 20% started in the bottom 20%. And so I began to ask them. And people will tell you, very freely they will tell you. People love to help other people to be successful. And if they're successful, they'll write a book. So I began to write. I began to read books and read and read. And then I began to listen to audio programs. And then I began to attend seminars. And I just became hungry to learn why some people are more successful than others. And so the principle of causality, Aristotle, is basically cause and effect. Is if you do what other successful people do, you get the same results. And it's not a coincidence and it's not luck, it's just law. And so I began to just practice the law. And my application of the law is learn and do. Learn and do. Cause and effect, learn and do. And that's what I did. And then you came to my seminar and I simply explained this principle to you.
Yeah.
And you started to practice success principles and you became a big success. And then you began to share the success principles with other people and they became successful. So it's not a miracle. It's predictable. Success is predictable.
Thank you for sharing that with people, because today people are in challenging times, and what you're saying is like gospel. You learn and you do, and it's very predictable. Just go behind people who are successful, just learn and do.
Yes.
I believe for everyone, there's one or two life defining moments. For me, March 5th, 2006 was a life defining moment where I learned from your 1 day seminar. I want you to share one life defining moment which changed the whole course of your life.
Well, when I was 18, 19 years old, I decided I would go and see the world. Now, it's an interesting discovery, but if you read about people who travel, or if you read about poets, or if you read about business people, you start to become like them. So when I was young, I used to read stories about people who had traveled and had adventures. So I decided I would go and see the world. And at the age of 19 and 20, I set off to travel from Vancouver, British Columbia, to Johannesburg in South Africa. It was 17,000 miles, 17,000 miles. And two friends of mine and I had an old car, and we started off and we drove across Canada. It was about 5,000 kilometers, 3,000 miles. And then I worked on a ship to get across, because I'd heard about people who worked on a ship.
Sure.
So I went to the harbor and I went to the ships. I went to every single ship in the harbor, and everyone said no, no, no. And it's now late. It's 6, 7 o'clock at night. It's the middle of the winter, and I'm tired, and I'm cold, and I'm hungry, and I have very little money. And I was staying at the YMCA, a little room. And I went back to the YMCA, and from the YMCA, I still remember I could see all the way down to the harbor. There was a ship on a separate dock that I had not seen before.
Okay.
And here was the YMCA, and it was warm, and it was bright, and it had food, and it was beautiful. And here it was cold, and snow, and rain, and then there was this ship, and it was a mile away, and I had a choice. Do I go into that YMCA where it's nice and warm, or do I go to that one last ship in the harbor? I've been to every single ship, and what I did is I just put on my jacket and I walked all the way down to the ship. And there were two ships, actually. I went to the first ship and I said, I'm looking for work to go across the Atlantic. They said, no, we're not going to the Atlantic. We're going to the East Coast. So I went to the last ship, and I said, I'm looking for a job. They said, well, come in. And so I went in and they said, what can you do? I said, I will do anything. He said, well, if you're willing to do anything, I have a job for you. And our ship is leaving. This is now 6 o'clock at night. He said, our ship is leaving at 8 o'clock. If you can be on the ship, then you can travel with us across the Atlantic. And so I ran back to the YMCA up the hill, and I got all my stuff, and I got a taxi, which was a really big luxury for me. Got a taxi and went back down to the ship. I got on the ship, and the ship sailed out. And I can still remember sitting on this ship as the ship sailed out into the ocean, and the city of Halifax disappeared over the horizon. And for the rest of my life, I realized that you can accomplish anything if you just don't quit. You don't quit. No matter what it is, you make a decision in advance that you will never quit. And no matter how discouraged you become, or tired or broke, is you pick yourself up and you never quit. And you know something? I've read hundreds, thousands of books on success, and every one of them says the key is don't quit. So I traveled all the way across the Atlantic, all the way across Europe, all the way across Africa and the Sahara Desert, 17,000 miles. And I finally got to Johannesburg. It took 9 months. And, but after that, I've traveled all over the world. I've traveled in now 125 countries. I've traveled everywhere. And the one thing is, once you start off towards your goal, never quit. If you want to be financially successful, that's your goal. Never quit. Uh, Pick a field, pick somebody who's successful, ask them for their advice, read their books, go to their courses, become hungry to learn success principles, and then practice the success principles. And remember that nothing works the first time. And sometimes it doesn't work the second time or the third time or the fourth time. But eventually, if it's the right thing, it will work. It will work and it will change your life forever.
Thank you, Brian. For all the people who are watching and listening to this, this is words of wisdom from a 76-year-old, very young soul. I know his heart. He's an amazing human being. For people who are watching, I want you guys to comment here and share this because I want this message to go to the world. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that. I know you've written a book on goals and you're a firm believer of written goals. Can you
Yes.
tell to the audience why goals are important, why written goals are very important?
Well, the answer to that is that your mind is incredibly powerful. You have 100 billion cells in your mind, and they all work together, but they need a direction. So when you write down a goal, it's like programming a computer. You program the goal into your mental computer, and then your mental computer starts to work 24 hours a day. When you're awake and when you're asleep, it's working. And then what happens is you activate what in India, they know this, it's called the superconscious mind, the spiritual mind. And when you activate that mind, it starts to attract into your life people and ideas and what seems to be luck, but it's attracted to you like a magnet when you have a clear goal, when you write it down. If you don't write it down, it would be the same as going for a drive in a foreign country or a foreign city with no map and no GPS and nothing else. But when you write it down, it begins to work automatically, 24 hours a day. And I've never written down a goal that I didn't eventually achieve. I set big financial goals and eventually I achieved almost all of them, because when you achieve a financial goal, you set a bigger one. So you never actually get to the final goal, but you and I have earned so much more money in our lives than we ever dreamed possible, because we wrote it down. And then we just start to work, like crossing the desert, like traveling a long distance.
Thank you, Brian, for that. All our teachers say that time is our biggest asset. You've written a book called Eat That Frog, which I believe is the #1 book in time management. Can you elaborate why time is the most important asset and how people can actually utilize their time?
Well, in life, as you drive down the road of life, is you have turning points. And sometimes a turning point will change your life forever. And I wanted to be successful, and I began to read that if you want to be successful, you must use your time well. And you must spend more and more time on those things that are most important. For example, learning. There's no point in just working if you don't learn how to work well. So using your time well is important. And so I used to think that time was like a planet, and I was the sun, and time management was one of the many planets that went around my life. And then I had a turning point. And the turning point was that time management is my life. And everything that I do are the stars. And so I began to become a fanatic about studying time management. And I read books and I took notes, and read books and took notes. And Nightingale Conant, the biggest producer of audio learning programs at that time, said, have you got an idea for a program that would be popular with a large number of people? And I said, well, I've been studying time management. They said, that would be very good. Our entrepreneurs and salespeople and business people, they all need time management. So I wrote a program. It was about 7 hours, time management for results. And it became the best-selling audio program in time management in the world. And so then publisher came to me a few years later and said, do you have any books that you could publish? I said, well, I have this book called Double Your Income, Double Your Time Off. And so they said, send it to me. So I sent them the script from Time Management for Results. because when you record a program, you have to read it, right?
Yeah.
And they said, well, the idea is good, but the title is not very good. In your title, you have 21 ideas, and one of the ideas, number 15, was eat that frog.
Yeah.
And eat that frog says that if the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is you eat a live frog, then you will have the pleasure of knowing all day long that that's the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yeah.
And your live frog is your biggest and most difficult task, but it's also the task that can help you the most, and it's also the task that you're most likely to procrastinate on. So what you do, if you can develop the habit of getting up and starting and completing your most important task, you'll transform your life. And countless people have become rich with that single principle. So I wrote a book, and they said, we need a different title. Let's call it Eat That Frog.
Sure.
And 21 ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done faster. So I said, okay. So I rewrote the book. I sent it to them. They published it, and the book went out, and it just blew up, exploded. And today it has sold 10 million copies in 46 languages. It's the best-selling time management book in history, and it just goes, just sells and sells and sells. And people say it changes your life. If you can develop the habit of starting on your most important task and disciplining yourself to work on it till it's complete, you can conquer the world. And if you cannot do that, you must always work for someone else who will supervise you. You have a choice. You can be your own boss, or you can be supervised by someone else.
Yeah. For all of you listening, if you've not picked that book, please pick up the book, Eat That Frog, the #1 book on time management. It's a classic. It helps every single person, no matter who you are. And if you're watching this, I really want you to put your comments and start sharing, because this is something which the world needs to listen. Procrastination, Brian, is one word which has killed many dreams till now. Why do people procrastinate? And what can they do to overcome it?
Well, it's because of lack of self-discipline. And what I've learned is that your quality as a person is determined by your character. And the foundation of character is self-discipline. It is your ability to force yourself to do what you know you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. It's the best definition I've ever heard. And so what they do in the military, what they do in a good family, what they do if you're smart, is you develop the discipline of the discipline of personal management, and you discipline yourself to do what you say you're going to do. And there's a wonderful line from the German philosopher Goethe. He said, everything is hard before it's easy.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest success principles. To develop self-discipline is very hard at the beginning, because we like to do things that are easy and watch television and read and socialize, and we really have to discipline ourselves. But eventually it becomes easier and easier, and then it becomes automatic and easy. So discipline is as automatic as getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. And it's a wonderful thing. And once you have it, you just use it all the time. It's like learning to drive a car. Once you have learned, then you can drive for the rest of your life. And so that's what discipline requires. If you learn discipline, everything else will work for you.
Thank you, Brian. That's a great answer. And you're a big advocate of self-education, that people need to invest in the self-education. Can you share with the audience why it is very important?
Well, your brain, your outer world, there's a rule that says you become what you think about most of the time. Is that your outer life is a mirror reflection of your inner life.
Yes.
And most people come into the world with, of course, no inner life. And so the more you learn, the more tools you have to achieve success. And I studied this for many years, and I met a very wise man some years ago, and he asked this question. He said, what is the purpose of words in human life? And of course, there were about 20 very successful people, and we were talking about this, and they said, well, to communicate. He said, yes. He said, but it's more than that. He said, word is a condensed thought, and it has many different meanings. For instance, if you take the word love, that has many different meanings.
Yeah.
If you take the word success, your happiness, accomplishment, discipline, these are very rich words. There are entire books written on the subject. If you take love, there's thousands of books written on the word love. So therefore, the more words you learn, the more thoughts you have. The more thoughts you have, the richer is your thinking, and the better decisions that you make, and the better results that you get. And it's the same thing with skills. When you learn a new skill, well, you can do amazing things. So if you keep learning new skills, learning one single technique in selling can triple your income. I know,
Yep.
because one technique tripled my income when I was struggling, and I had no food. I lost like 10 kilos the first 6 months that I was selling, because I didn't eat very much, because I didn't know how. But once I learned how, I was able to earn more money in a day than I had earned in a month, because of the skills. So therefore, your job is to learn new skills, because every skill enriches your life and makes it possible for you to get more and better results.
So investing in yourself is the most important investment anyone has to do. Okay,
Yes.
Brian, we have had numerous dinner conversations, and we always felt that law of attraction is overrated. It is just one part of the puzzle. Can you
Yeah.
tell to the audience what other laws people need to apply to actually reach their goal?
Okay. Well, the first law, of course, is the law of cause and effect. One of my favorite laws is the law of belief, and the law of belief says that whatever you believe with emotion becomes your reality. If you believe that you are going to be a big success, that will come true. You may not know how, but if you believe you're going to be a big success. So I have 4 children. You've met my daughter,
Yeah.
Catherine. Each one of my children, I tell them, when you grow up, you're going to be a big success in life. When you grow up, you're going to be a big success in life. My parents never did that. My parents were always criticizing. So I always told my children how wonderful they are. And when you grow up, you're going to be a big success in life. And all of them believe in themselves. They have self-confidence. There's nothing can stop them. The idea of quitting, it never comes into their mind, because their father, the person they admire the most, told them over and over how good they were. And this is one of the most important things you do with your children. And if you're a boss, a manager, a company owner, tell your staff how good they are, and tell them the things they can do to perform better and get better results, and so on. And so a person starts to believe, I can do this. The most powerful words, by the way, are I can do this, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Now, if you want to encourage people, you say you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And when a person believes that they can do anything they put their mind to, they become unstoppable. I used to say to my audiences and my seminars, I became very popular as a speaker. My average seminar, we had 1,600 people, or sometimes 2,000,
Yeah.
3,000. And so I would say, story. When I was about in my 20s, about 28, 29, I was going out with a girl, and the girl said, what is your best quality in life? And I had never thought about that before. And I remember we were walking along. She said, what is your best quality? She's a nice girl. So I thought about it. I said, my best quality is that I am unstoppable, is I never give up. I never quit. And so I've read thousands of books and articles, and I found that that's the quality of all successful people. So how do you become unstoppable? I would say this to my audience. I say, well, it's very simple. Is you become what you think about, but you also become what you say to yourself. So what you do is you use affirmations,
Yeah.
positive, present tense statements, and you say, I am unstoppable. So now I say, like an orchestra conductor, I say, all right, I want everybody here to say, I am unstoppable. And so they say it, I am unstoppable. I said, no, 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 no. Say it like you mean it. So they say, I am unstoppable. No, 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 louder. And then everybody shouts, I am unstoppable. And for the rest of your life, whenever you have a goal or anything else, and you have all kinds of difficulties and you're thinking about quitting, you say, wait a minute, I am unstoppable. And how do you become unstoppable? You just simply say this over and over until it locks in and becomes a permanent part of your life. And when that happens, you are going to be such a big success. And when you start to succeed, you like yourself more, you feel happy, it gives you energy, you earn more money. Just keep saying, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. And I tell my kids this, you are unstoppable. You never give up. You never give up. Oh, Dad, that's not true. No, I know you. I'm your father. You never give up.
Never give up.
Eventually they start to say, I remember my son saying, I know one thing about myself, I never give up.
Yep.
And that's the key to success.
Law of belief.
Yes.
Okay, now my next question. Today with social media and all these distractions, how can we remain focused and productive?
Well, what I do, and you know, is I brought this is what will make you rich. They did a study, by the way, of for the presidents. They interviewed the presidents of 50 successful companies, startups, and they asked them, how do you manage your time and your life? 49 of the 50 said, this is what I do. This is the key. It's a pad of paper, yellow paper, and a pen. And you take that, you write down everything you have to do today, and then you organize this, and we teach this in our books and courses. You organize it by priority. What is the most important thing? If you could only finish one thing on this list today, what would have the greatest positive impact on your life? You put a circle around that, and then if you could only finish two things, what would be number two? And then you start with number one, and you just work at number one until it's complete, and you become unstoppable. And you do this until it becomes automatic. Every morning you get up, you plan your day, pick number one, and start working on it. And it's quite amazing. It becomes easier and easier, and you accomplish so much, and you feel happy, and people admire you and respect you. Nobody respects someone who doesn't finish their work. Everybody admires people who start and complete important tasks.
Yep. Brian, you always emphasize the power of habits. How to
Yes.
cultivate a new habit?
Well, the key to habit pattern development is repetition. As every single habit that you have today, you did not have at one time. And so what you do is you write down, you decide what habits you want to have. For example, you want to have the habit of starting and completing your most important task. Write it down and then focus on that. And then just practice it. And if you practice over and over, eventually it becomes automatic and easy. And then you go on to the next habit. One of the things that we learned is when you start to get excited about habit pattern formation, developing new habits, is you start to make lists of all the habits that you want. No. You develop new habits one habit at a time. One habit at a time. And you develop that habit until it locks in. And it's just natural for you. You breathe in, you breathe out, you practice that habit. Now, then you start with habit number two. Because if you try to develop too many habits, then you don't develop any habits.
Habit.
So develop one at a time. And what happens, by the way, when you develop a new habit, it gives you confidence. It gives you energy. It raises your self-confidence and self-esteem. Your whole life gets better when you develop a new habit and then another habit. And all successful people are those who have developed good habits. There's a wonderful line that says, form good habits and make them your masters. Wow. Make them your masters. Let your habits dominate you and direct your life.
Wow. You study a lot of millionaires and successful people. Can you give the top 5 habits of all successful people?
Well, and number one, and by the way, I wrote a book. I have a book here, and it's called Millionaires and Billionaires, The Success Habits of Wealthy People. And remember, everybody who is wealthy today, including the wealthiest people in the world, at one time had no money at all. Yeah. So they did certain things, and they have been interviewed exhaustively. And I have done all kinds of books and articles and chapters on the habits of wealthy people. Number one is they have clear goals. is they write down and they make plans. Like if you're going to build a house, you get a blueprint. If you're going to build a life, then you get a blueprint and you design it and you keep correcting it, changing it, improving it as you get feedback. Another thing is that successful people, by the way, get up before 6 a.m. in the morning. They get up before 6 o'clock and get going immediately. What I like to do is get up and do and exercise and plan my day. Another thing of successful people is that they read 30 to 60 minutes per day in their field. They're constantly reading. Bill Gates reads 2 books a week. And Warren Buffett, who those two back and forth as the richest people in the world for many years, is Warren Buffett reads 5 hours a day.
Wow.
5 hours a day. And he said, he was asked, what is your secret to success? And this has been repeated many times. He said, my secret to success is that I just say no to everything except my top 2 or 3 tasks, the ones that pay the most. And so therefore, get up early, exercise, take good care of your physical health, read 30 to 60 minutes a day, plan every day in advance, plan it, set priorities, and go to work on your most important task. And read, associate with other successful people. Here's one of the rules, is that your income will be the average of the 5 people with whom you spend the most time. So therefore, if you spend time with poor people, you'll be poor. If you spend time with successful people, you'll be successful. And some people are always saying, well, how can I get these successful people? Well, you become a successful person yourself. And you write down your goals and you read and you learn and you start early and you work hard. And what happens is you set up a force field of energy and you start to attract into your life other successful people. Like, for example, when you came to my seminar, I said you were a big success just looking for a place to happen.
Wow.
And what happened is I could see that in you, that you were a big success looking for a place to happen. So you attracted me into your life, and you attracted lots of other people into your life. Because if you become a better person, better people will start to seek you out and want to spend time with you.
I totally agree with you, because this is the advice you gave me long back, that you network with people whom you want to become, and your life really starts improving. And thank you for the advice. It has completely changed my life. We did a seminar on peak performance. I remember we did a 3-day seminar on peak performance. Can you tell the secret of peak performance? A small crash course for all audience.
Well, people are always looking, Suren, they're always looking for a shortcut or a quick way. Like there's one thing that you can do, or what's the one trick? And I am asked this all the time. And I say there's never one thing. At different times in your life, it's something different. At another time in your life, it's something different. It's many things, but you always know what it is. And so what you do is you develop sort of like automatic. You get up in the morning and write down your goals. You plan your day and set your top priority. You begin work and you persist on your most important task until it's done. You continue to learn and take every opportunity to upgrade your task. It's amazing. Most people waste easily 50% of their time. And they waste their time by drinking coffee or tea or talking with their friends or watching television or sports or things like that. And you have to say, is what I'm doing consistent with where I want to be in the future? And if you want to be successful, then do the things that will lead you to success. And one of the things is just upgrading your skills. I'll give you a very simple example. I have many friends, and when I meet with them, I say, what books have you read that you would recommend? And I remember having lunch with 2 women, and one of them said, well, I read this book. It was a good book. And I said, well, that's interesting. So I went and got the book because I respected her opinion. I got the book and I really liked it. It turned out that the book was written by a Nobel Prize winner. And I read the book, and the book was all about thinking styles. And it was about basically 2 ways of thinking. And then I got a request a year later from a publisher is, would you like to write a book for us? I said, yes. He said, what kind of book would you like to write? I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll write a book on thinking. And so they said, okay, send us a proposal. And if we like it, we'll publish the book. So I sat down and I developed 10 different ways of thinking. Success versus failure, success, failure, success, failure. I wrote down 10 books and I sent the manuscript. They said, we like it. And the title of the book was Get Smart. Very
Wow.
simple, just get
Yes.
smart. And the book has been published in multiple languages all over the world. And every week, including this week, I get emails from people that said it changed their life forever.
Yep.
Just how to think better about your life. Smart people, successful people have goals. Unsuccessful people don't. Smart people think like entrepreneurs, getting results that people will pay for. Unsuccessful people think like employees, and they just waste their time talking to their coworkers. Successful people are continuously learning. Unsuccessful people are not. And anyway, there's 10. It's called Get Smart. And it's life-changing. It's just very simple things. Is do this, don't do that. So just stop doing things that aren't helping you. Start doing more things until it becomes a habit. And so every day you're getting a little bit better. Every day you're getting a little bit better. And you start to earn more money. Mostly you earn the respect and the esteem of the people around you who you respect.
Yeah. Brian, a lot of people ask me this question. When they come for a seminar, they're inspired, motivated, but after some time, they go back to their own world and environment takes over. Okay. Can you tell people how to always remain inspired and motivated? What needs to be done?
Well, it's like physical exercise. You know, human beings always do what is the easiest thing to do. And so you always have to resist doing the easy thing. And if you stop resisting, you will coast backward and you'll start taking it easy and relaxing. So always push yourself and realize you never reach the point where you're finished. It's sort of like a piece of sculpture or a piece of art. It's never complete. Can always be improved a little bit more. And you can always be a little bit better. So basically all your life, you keep working to become better, to become more. I have written 86 books, 86 books. And for all my life, I read and read and read and read and read. And then finally I wrote a book. And I had this most amazing experience. I wrote the book and the book was successful. And I had a hard time getting it promoted. And then after about 3 months, they stopped promoting the book. And I said, well, why won't they promote my book? Why won't they interview me? They said, well, they only promote a book for 3 months. And then they go on to the next book. And so therefore, and your book has been out for more than 3 months. And I said, well, how do I get them to promote my book? They said, well, you write another book. So I decided, okay, I'm going to write a book every 3 months. So I'll always be promoting the book. And I did lots and lots of research. I read 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day, learning new material. And I began to write a book every 3 months. And for 26 years, I wrote 4 books a year. And some years I wrote 5 books and even 6 books. I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I planned and organized my life. And I would get up in the morning and I'd go to work. I studied and I read all kinds of books on how to write a book. The very best writers in the world have written how to write a book. So I studied that and I developed a technique that enabled me to write with great mental clarity all day long. Whereas the books tell you that you can only write for about 3 hours a day, because other than that, your brain becomes too tired. So I developed a way using music in the background that kept your brain completely relaxed. And so I could write for 8 hours a day. So I write 4 books a year. So I'm one of the best published authors in the world. And anybody can do it. All they have to do is get a book on how to write a book and read it and then practice it. I say learn and do, learn and do.
Learn and do. Yeah. Okay. Often people ask me this question. Some people are addicted either to a smoke or to a bad habit. How do we let go of it? How to break a bad habit? How to let go of an addiction?
Well, the question is, how badly do you want it? The determining factor in life is desire, the intensity of your desire. And Napoleon Hill wrote his book, Think and Grow Rich. And number one chapter is intense burning desire. It's something that you really want. You want it more than you want the other things that are fun and enjoyable. And so if you can discipline yourself, so you keep doing those things until they become easier and easier, but they never become so automatic that you don't have to discipline yourself. You always have to work on yourself. And if you don't, you will start to slip back.
Yeah. So that self-discipline is always required every single day if you really want to break something and get into that. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian, for that. I know you're 76 years old. You read 3 hours a day. You still write a book, and you're still waiting to come out and do a speaking assignment. How do you do it? What is your big why? Why do you do it?
Well, it's actually my why and your why is the same. Is at a certain point in your life, you start to earn good money. You practice these ideas, and then you want to make a difference in the lives of other people. Why do you do what you do? To make a difference. And so you want to help other people enjoy the same success that you're enjoying. And so you look for ways. People sometimes may not be outgoing, they're shy, so they write books or they write articles. You meet them and they're very shy. Other people are more outgoing. Some people have both. You have an outgoing personality, but because you have been successful, you want to help other people to enjoy the same success. And so you measure your success not by money, but by the influence you're having on other people. And what happens, people will come up to you and they'll say, you changed my life. You changed my life. You helped me with this. You opened my eyes to this. That is where we get our greatest satisfaction. It's not money. It's helping other people to be everything that they can possibly be in their life, to help them to release their potential.
And thank you, Brian, for doing what you do, because of you, I've transferred millions and millions of people's life have transferred, and it's a ripple effect because we take the message, we understand the only way of doing is giving back and to take the torch forward. Thank you for being that, Brian. Okay, Brian, before we have the last 2 questions, I'm going to dive into a rapid fire. Are we ready for a rapid fire?
Absolutely.
Okay, your first question, your favorite holiday destination?
Well, my favorite holiday destination is Hawaii. I take my family to Maui, which is a beautiful island in Hawaii, every year for more than 30 years. We go to the same place, we rent a condominium, and we started off when we had 2 little children and a little condominium, and our income was very low. And today we have 4 children, all grown, 3 of them married with children. So now we used to rent 1 little condominium in a small building down the beach. Now we rent 4 big condominiums with all of our children and their children, and we do it every year. We do it at Christmas time. We go to Hawaii, and then in the summertime we go to a vacation in the mountains somewhere with our whole family.
One more quick question, Brian. Name of the book you're currently reading?
Well, the book that I'm reading today, I'll show you. And I had this book. It's really interesting. It's from Peter Drucker. And I love Peter Drucker. And Peter Drucker has written about 30 books. But a few years before he died, he was asked if he would put all of his best ideas together in this book. And it's called Management. And it is a huge book. And it is full of the best ideas that have ever been discovered. And it's a wonderful book. And I was talking to my son, Michael, and he said, have you read this book by Peter Drucker? And I was talking to him on the phone. I said, yes, I have it right here. He said, well, I was just reading this book the other day. Well, this is a big book. It's a serious book. It's got almost 800 pages of ideas on how to be a good manager. And so I never told him, he by himself, he is reading the very best material on management, and he's applying it in his own life to become a big success. So this is the book I'm in, and he reminded me of it. So I went and got it down from my shelf, and so I'm now reading this again.
Thank you so much for showing that to the audience, because most of us are going to pick up a copy and read that book. Your definition of success.
My success is doing what you love to do and doing it very well, being recognized as being excellent at your work. And that is the first thing for me, is I discovered that I love to teach. I love to help people. And then I worked at it, and I never stopped becoming better at speaking and teaching other people. People say to me, do you consider yourself to be an author? I said, no, I consider myself to be a teacher. Is I teach people, and my job is I say that here's where you are and here's where you can be, and this is time. And it could be weeks or months or years. My job is to reduce the amount of time that it takes you to achieve your most important goals by giving you the tools and the techniques and the methods. So instead of taking 10 years to get your income up here, you can do it in 1 year. And then again, and then again, and then again. And it's just wonderful. And especially when, like with you, Suren, people tell you, is that when you told me this, I had not thought about that before. So I did it, and my whole life is different. I earn more money. I live in a bigger house. I have more opportunities. So that's what you and I do, is to help other people to achieve their goals faster. That's basically my philosophy. Is my purpose in life is to help people achieve their goals faster than they would without my help.
Yeah. Okay. Have you done all your bucket list of goals? Have you done everything?
No. What happens is each time you achieve a goal, you set a bigger goal. Now I'm 76 years old. And so my biggest goal is to spend time with my wife and my family, and to enjoy excellent health, and to read spiritual material. So I'm no longer driven to achieve success, because I've achieved success. So I'm now accomplishing many other things.
You already answered this question. 125 countries you've traveled. And which is the favorite country where you went and spoke? If you pick up one country.
India, of course.
Thank you.
My favorite country is India and Chennai, and working with you in Delhi. And I've also been all over India, from the north to the south. And I remember you helped me go to Jaipur with Catherine. We went all the way across India. And so India is a wonderful country, an amazing country.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Your favorite cuisine? Which cuisine do you like most?
Well, when I traveled, I was poor. I didn't have very much money. And so I would eat anything, because, and it's still the same thing. I love Indian food very much. Here in San Diego, we have beautiful Indian restaurants, lovely food. But I like French food. I've been to France. I like German food. I like Mexican food. Here in San Diego, we're on the Mexican border. So we like Mexican food. But also you reach a point where you don't think about food all the time. So whatever it is.
So people are listening, because I remember Brian, when I brought him first time to India and I said, what cuisine do you like? He said, I will eat what you eat. You're the most easiest person, and you can virtually have anything and everything, and you're very comfortable. The most easiest speaker to work with. Thank you for being who you are. We really love working with you. And we really want you to come back soon. We really want you to come back soon, so that we can do seminars in India.
And I want to come back soon. We always have a good time when I come and work with you.
Do you have a count of the number of books you have read till now? Because I know you read a lot of books. Do you have the count? How many books have you read till now?
I hired someone to go through and count all of my books and put them into a computer. And I have about 6,000 books in my house. Wow. You can see behind me, you see all the bookshelves. Each of these are double bookshelves. So there's two levers. There's bookshelves, books downstairs. There's books in my living room. There's books in my family room. There's books everywhere, and I keep buying books. They say that educated people are people who buy more books than they will ever be able to read.
Yeah.
And so I have to fight myself not to buy a book. I read something, I'm like, oh, I want to buy that book. And I buy the book and it sits there and I don't get a chance to read it. So I would say I've read about 3,000 or 4,000 books. I have about 6,000 books, but also I've read many, many books that I don't have copies of. I started off when I was 10 or 12 years old reading. I just read and read and read and read. I cannot stop reading.
Stop reading. I know. What is the latest book you're writing? Is there any book you're writing right now?
Well, I have 2 books that I'm working on now. One is sort of to help people understand political economy. Why is it that some people are more successful than others? And I was thinking I would write a series of small books, and then I'm thinking maybe I'll write one book with a series of words. And one of the words would be responsibility. Is successful people accept responsibility. They don't make excuses. They don't blame other people. Another reason for success is contribution. Successful people are always looking for ways to contribute to other people, to help other people to be successful. And another thing is direction or goals. Yeah. People are very clear what they want to accomplish. So I'm always thinking in terms of how can I help other people? And because I've mentioned these little health problems I had in the last couple of years, I haven't written books for a while. So I've got books that people want me to write. One of the things they want me to write is getting things done. Okay. Because I write books that give people tools that enable them to double the speed at which they achieve their goals. So I have the biggest publisher in the world is asking me to write books. Yeah. And I say, well, I'm going to write a book. And then another publisher wants me to record some of the books that I've written and so on. So there's lots of great opportunities there. But every one of them is how to think better so you get better results in your life. Yeah.
Okay. Writing a book and speaking on stage. What excites you more?
It's always speaking, because it's always interacting, working with you and with our friends in this business. It's so enjoyable. I learned something, and I was talking to someone a couple of days ago, and I learned it from a great metaphysical teacher, a spiritual teacher. And he said, all joy in life comes from your relationships. It comes from people. And one of the things he said was, there is no joy in things. You could have the best car and a beautiful house and everything, but there's no joy in things. All joy comes from people, like from Sunny, your beautiful wife, and my wife, and my children, and this is where our joy comes from. So that's what I always think of, is spending more time enhancing the quality of the life of the people that I love. Yeah. Okay.
We're coming to the final question, Brian, in rapid fire. What is your definition of focus?
Well, the key to focus is to concentrate single-mindedly on one thing at a time. All success comes from single-minded concentration until the task is complete. And there's 2 rules which I teach, which will change your life. Number 1 is to work all the time you work. When you start working, only do work. Don't play, don't talk to your friends, don't play with your iPhone and your computer. It's just work. And second of all, remember that all success in life comes from task completion. Task completion. That means that you start and you complete something that is important. And focus means that you discipline yourself to choose the one thing that you can do at this moment that is more important than anything else. And then you discipline yourself to complete that task. And you just keep working, even if you have to work all night. You discipline yourself to focus until you complete your most important task. Now, here's an interesting thing, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so successful. Task completion gives you a surge of mental energy. It releases endorphins in your brain. It makes you feel like a winner, like you have just won a contest or a race. It gives you energy. It makes you happy and it motivates you to do more things and more things. Everything comes from task completion, and task completion is determined by focus. And if you can do that, you can conquer the world.
I love that explanation, Brian. I think it was really, really mind-blowing. Okay, one final message for audience listening here, because people are going through challenging times because of the corona lockdown. Most of the countries, people are inside lockdowns, and some people are panicking, not knowing what to do. What is your message to these people?
Well, I do a seminar, and so actually I've been doing it now for the last 6 weeks all over the world on crisis management. And I say that there's really there's actually 21 keys. I wrote a book. I'm one of the few people who has written a book on crisis management. It's been published worldwide. And I called it Crunch Time, What to Do When the You-Know-What Hits the Fan.
Wow.
And they changed it. What do you do when we have a crisis like this? And there's 21 ways, 21 steps. And this is based on years and years of research. But the 3 that I teach, including 1 hour from now, a national seminar, is number 1 is stay calm.
Okay.
Just stay calm. Relax. Don't get upset or angry. Because if you stay calm, look for the good, look for something you can gain, understand the situation clearly. But when you stay calm, your mind stays calm and you can make good decisions. Yeah. Number 2 is get the facts. Is ask questions. The more you ask questions about the situation, the more you understand it. Like I read probably 30 to 60 minutes every day on the virus and on the situation in the world today. I watch television. I keep myself informed. What is happening? What else is happening? And so on. So I'm not frightened or scared for any reason because I know. And then the third thing is accept responsibility. Is don't blame other people. Don't say, oh, somebody should have done this or somebody should have done that. It's just a complete waste of time. You say to yourself, wait a minute, I am responsible. It's the hallmark of the superior person is they accept responsibility for their life and their world. And they don't make excuses and they don't blame other people. So this is your golden triangle, is stay calm, get the facts, accept responsibility, and you will come through this and you will be okay.
Brian, that was fabulous. Stay calm, get the facts right, accept responsibility. That was brilliant. Before I let you go, all the audience who have been watching here, it was a phenomenal 1 hour. I want you guys to comment and share because I want this message to go to the world. And Brian, I want to thank you for doing this. You've been my teacher, my mentor, a good friend. Every time I see you, meet you, talk to you, I get excited, I get goosebumps. And it's such a wonderful feeling. Thank you for taking your time and doing this and coming in Success Talks with Suren. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Suren. You are my dear friend, and I look forward to seeing you one-on-one.
Thank you, Brian. I'm really waiting for you to come to India, do the seminar. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next edition of Success Talks with Suren.